Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to talk about the book from Darren Hardy called The Compound Effect. So this is quite a fast read. It's been recommended to me by a friend of mine who swears by it. So I've decided to have a little dive in and give it a bit of a review and summarise some of the main points for you. So in the first part of the book it talks about three friends. So they have roughly the same income, roughly the same jobs and roughly the same interests. What a perfect setup for a little experiment. So these three people, so there are three friends. One friend has decided he's quite happy how he is. He doesn't love his job, but he's going to keep going with what he's doing and keep going with how he's living his life. So this is going to be the first person. And time passes, and eventually nothing much has changed for this guy. He's still where he was and doing very much the same, except maybe now a little bit bitter. Next up we have the friend number two, who's looking to improve himself. So he sets himself a goal that every day he's going to eat approximately 125 calories less, and he's going to walk a little bit more, less than a mile, not massive, very achievable. And he's going to, on his way to work, he's going to use his time, instead of listening to the radio and the news, he's going to listen to self-help and self-development informational. Used to be known as books on tape, but probably now audiobooks. So this person does this, and you don't see any change immediately, but over the 2 to 3 year period, towards the end it starts to compound. So these go up and up and up and up, and he's actually in a significantly better place than the previous person. Now the third friend has installed a bar in his house, as well as a big screen television, and is now eating fattier foods, less healthy meals. So he treats himself to a couple of drinks every night while he's watching his show, and he's enjoying these rather rich meals. So not much different happens between them after the first year, or even 18 months, but after around the 2 year mark to the 3 year mark, you start to see a marked difference. So these small daily changes, these have compounded into a large effect. So the person who has bettered themselves and who has been taking care of their body, they have lost a significant amount of weight and have been promoted, so they're very happy. The person who's made no changes has glided all the way through and is still in the place they were, and the person who's made some negative daily changes has gained a significant amount of weight, his relationships have worsened, and he's getting poor reviews at work. So they also talk about in the book choices. So they talk about the idea that it's not just a single large choice or action that will usually hold you back or reduce your effectiveness. It's usually lots of little choices. So these little choices can be deciding not to walk, it can be decided to have a biscuit instead of a piece of fruit, it can be lots of little choices throughout the day which do add up over time, which I thought was quite powerful. There's also the idea that was put forward of taking ownership. So in the book it talks about I think it's a couples counselling session or something like that. They have lots of different couples, and they say who is responsible for the happiness in the relationship. People put up their hands, say maybe 50-50, 60-40, and the person there says, no, you're 100% responsible for the happiness of a relationship. When you stop and think about that, it's quite powerful. It allows you to really take control, and it puts a lot on your shoulders. If you're thinking 50-50, you could maybe put something off. If something's not going right, you could say, oh, that's not really my fault. But if you think there is something I can do about this, it really gives you ownership, which I think is quite a powerful tool. So with choices, it talks about goals, the idea of moving towards something, trying to achieve something. So these goals can be whatever you desire, something ideally that would align with your personal beliefs and your core values, so as not to send you off in a strange direction. So these goals, when you're starting out to achieve these goals, it can be helpful to track what you're trying to change. So the things that they talk about changing are usually, I think finance is one of them. They've got fitness, they have relationships as well. So say finance, you track all your spending for a couple of weeks in a little notebook he recommends. You could probably do it on your phone now. and then it gives you an overview of what you've done and where you can change those habits. It's quite easy. I know it's almost a bit of a joke now, but the idea of the latte factor, so you may be spending $5 or £5 on coffee every morning, and just finding out whether the spending aligns with what you truly want as a long-term goal. It can be very powerful. So once you've made your choices, you want to make them a habit, you want to make them something that you do almost without thinking every day, and these habits will push you into where you want to go, which I think makes a lot of sense. Next up, so once you've got your habits, they say about momentum. So you want to carry this momentum. They talk about Newton's first law, where of inertia, so something at rest remains at rest, something in motion remains in motion. So you build on these habits to maybe add more habits, or they allow you to push yourself further than you thought possible, which sounds pretty good to me. Next up, we have this idea of your influences. So the things you're coming into contact, the things that you're putting in your mind. They use the illustration of having a glass of water. If you fill that glass with say muddy thoughts, so that could be social media, it could be sensationalist news, it could be fluff television, it could be whatever, negativity, negative thoughts, and you are responsible for that. So it takes the idea of this and states that you should be trying to fill your mind with positive thoughts and surrounding yourself with positive people and cutting out the majority of your news that's not relevant to you, cutting out things that make you feel like you're comparing yourself, say Instagram or Twitter or whatever it might be, so that you only have to deal with positive things in your mind. And your mind doesn't know the difference between things that you think are positive and actually positive. So that's an important point to be aware of. So this idea that you tend to pick up the habits of the 5 people you spend the most time with, you're an amalgamation of those 5 people. So if you're trying to put a new habit in place, a new choice, so you're looking to be healthier, if you're surrounded, say you're looking to not eat as much, so you go out to a restaurant, you decide you're not going to have any starters or appetizers in America, you're just going to have a main course and you're not going to have a dessert or pudding, you're just going to keep it nice. But if you're surrounded by 4 other people who are your friends who have come out with you for this meal, and they all are, there can be that pressure, that normalization of what they're doing, and you might hold out for 1, maybe 2, 5, but that constant of being the person fighting against the current can sometimes be exhausting and lead you to not succeed. So it's surrounding yourself with people who are positive, have goals, have healthy goals, who are looking to better themselves, can really be a large part of your success. So not having people that knock you out of your habits, I suppose, is probably what I'm trying to say. The final point it talks about, which I'm not sure I agree with this exactly, so the idea, it was chapter 6 in the book, this idea of acceleration. So instead of just meeting your goals or what's expected of you, you want to exceed those goals and what's expected of you, which sounds nice on paper. They use the analogy of going to the gym and lifting weights. So say you've decided to lift 12 repetitions of your weight. So once you get to once you get to your 12th repetition, instead of just stopping there, you would then decide, I'm going to go beyond my expectation, I'm going to go for 13 or 14. But the thing that I don't really understand about this is if you're if you're looking to exceed your goals you've set, then that's not really the goal you've set. You've set a goal that's really higher. So you think, I'm gonna do those 12 reps, but in the back of you, slightly a bit further back in your mind, you're thinking, I'm going to do 12, but I'm really going to do 15. So then do you have to go even further back and think, I'm going to do 15, but I really have to do 20. So where do you stop? Do you just continue lifting weights forever? Maybe I'm being a little bit pedantic with this, but it's a nice idea. Just not sure on the actual execution. But anyway, so that has been the Compound Effect. I think it's a great book. I think it's one of the best books I've come across. And yes, I think there's a lot of good information in there, and it can be really powerful. So in summary, the idea is good habits, good choices every day over time will lead to great results. Thanks very much. Bye.